What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review, and today I am talking about the latest offering from WORMED, OMEGON. This does come out on July 5th on, I believe, Season of Mist Records, and, well, this is a Spanish-based brutal death metal / technical death metal band, and I'll be honest, I've not listened to a lot of this band. I do have their last EP, Meta Portal. It was actually a gift given to me by one Hannah Klein from the Horseman podcast, which hopefully will bring that show back in the future. But yeah, she gifted to me as, I can't remember if it was a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. I want to say it was a Christmas gift. But I thought it was pretty cool. So when I saw they had a full length coming out, I'm like, you know what? It's time to dive into some WORMED. And from what I hear, they're described as cybernetic brutal death metal because their lyrics are all revolving around robots and astronomy and human evolution and all that kind of stuff, biology. So yeah, I definitely got that right off the rip with the opening track, Automon Virtualog. Immediately kind of sets the pace for this album. It's just all about ultra putrid guttural vocals, blast beats, technical riffs, and dissonance. And the dissonance that comes up here certainly reminds me of Gorguts and early Ulcerate, and I'm talking about like the Coming of Genocide demo and A Fracture and Failure. Not quite what they would become on Everything is Fire, but more early, like really early Ulcerate with some late 90s, early 2000s Gorguts as far as the dissonance goes. But like the technical riffs and the blasts, I get lots of nods to Cryptopsy across the board on this album. And with this opening track, and really, throughout the entire album, you just get some really solid grooves. Like, the grooves that come up here on this album are kind of all over the map. They can be simple and straightforward, or there's a lot of off time to them to kind of change up the dynamics. Although I will say, like, a big thing about this album, it is very blast heavy and very technically challenging in terms of the way these guys are playing their instruments is wild. The drum work, though, on this album is just, like, going for it at, like, 200 miles an hour at Daytona or Talladega and just going full speed, full send. Rarely slows down except for when breakdowns or slams come up. That's about the only time it ever truly slows down. But this opening track, like I said, really kind of sets the pace for the album. And really, pretty much across the board, it kind of follows a similar mold. Like, let's just blast our heads off, technical riffs, dissonance, but they do throw in some extra wrinkles into the mix. Like the song Proto-God, this one certainly sounds like if Cryptopsy guest appeared on Ulcerate's A Fracture and Failure. That's kind of the vibe I get on here, because the dissonance certainly reminds me of that early Ulcerate period, but the riff work and even the breakdowns with a clean progression on top feels a little bit like Cryptopsy somewhat. But then as the album gets going even further, as we go further down the line, well, even before that with the second track, Pareidolia Robotica, you start to get another thing that will start coming up, especially in the second half, dissonant melodies. Like, there's little melodies that pop up every once in a while, and it starts with this track. But one thing that definitely also stood out about this song, the ending, you get a tremolo melody, and that's probably the only time on the album you get like a true blue tremolo riff or melody, what have you. But yeah, as we keep going along within the album, the song Pelloverse Omninertia, this one I think goes for a far more brutal approach with the riff work. It's just absolutely gross for the most part, and of course dissonant melodies. Malignant Nexus, I initially kind of looked at them like thinking, okay, this is going to be like the pointless interlude. Not really. It's actually an interesting interlude. It's pretty much all clean guitars, and then the second half of the track, it's under 2 minutes, blast beats. So blast beats on top of like a clean guitar, pretty interesting sounding. But then with songs like Virtual Teratogenesis or Teratogenesis, that song, as well as I would probably say the following track, Aesthetic Transdimensionalization, those songs really have moments where they slow some parts down. Like in Virtual Teratogenesis, that one has some more angular riffs, but the grooves are some of the best grooves on the entire album. However, odd transition into a clean melody, and it does drag for about 45 seconds too long at the end. But with Aesthetic Transdimensionalization, brief slam moments. Gravitational Servo Matrix, that one of the big moments, actually a couple big moments, descending melody, cryptopsy riffs and blasts, dissonant clean melodies, brief triplet chug at the end, but the only time you get a solo and it's harmonized, I thought that was a really cool touch. But then you get to the title track, the closing track at over 7 minutes, dissonant clean melody to start off. It's very much like off time, all over the place, some big chugs and breakdowns, pretty much like everything that this album's doing, but longer and maybe hanging on to certain parts a little bit longer. As far as the production goes, Colin Marston from Gorguts actually did the mixing and mastering, so it sounds pretty damn solid. However, I do have some issues. I feel this one definitely gets very chaotic, which I don't mind that, but I would have loved to have heard some more straightforward moments on here. I do think they kind of rely too much, especially in the second half, on, you know, they do kind of rely too much on like the dissonance, especially in the second half. But also, the big problem, these transitions kind of just are too abrupt for my taste. Like, it's like suddenly you get into like this nice cool groove and then no fill to transition into a blast beat or an off time section. It's just like so scattered when it comes to the transitions that it kind of makes you get lost in the music a little bit, and not in the best way, if I'm going to be honest. So because of that, I mean, again, there's not a bad song on here, but it's just the transitions are just way too abrupt, and it just didn't really keep me engaged. So for that, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. It's still a good album for what this style is all about. I mean, but I think there may be other bands that do this kind of brutal technical death metal style a little bit more that's within this wheelhouse. But if you're a fan of, I would say, bands like Malignancy, Defeated Sanity, Cryptopsy, and early Ulcerate, I'd give it a listen. It's solid. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.